Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something that's going to change your life if you let it sink in. You can only win when your mind is stronger than your emotion. You see, life will hit you over and over again. Disappointments, betrayals, losses, delays, they're coming. You can't stop the waves, but you can learn how to surf. You can learn how to stand firm when life tries to drag you down. And that, my friends, begins with your mind. Emotions are natural, but discipline is a choice. That single truth defines the difference between people who give in and people who rise above. Everyone feels emotions: fear, doubt, sadness, anger, frustration. These are part of the human experience. You don't need to apologize for feeling them, but the real test of your character is not whether you feel them. Do you let those emotions lead you, or do you discipline your mind to push through? See, the world is full of people who had potential, dreams, and big plans, but when the emotion came, they broke. Discipline was missing. Emotion took over, and they let temporary feelings destroy long-term progress. That's the trap too many fall into. You feel tired, so you quit. You feel afraid, so you don't speak. You feel discouraged, so you stop trying. But discipline isn't based on feelings. Discipline says, I'm going to do what needs to be done no matter how I feel. That mindset, that choice, is the foundation of every successful person's story. People often confuse motivation with discipline. Motivation feels good, but it's unreliable. It's like a spark that lights a fire, but if you don't feed that fire with consistent discipline, it dies out. Motivation is emotional. It gets you started. Discipline is mental. It keeps you going. That's why the people who win aren't always the most motivated. They're the ones who are the most disciplined. They train their minds to override emotions. They create systems, habits, and structures that guide them through the days when emotions try to sabotage them. They don't wait to feel like it. They act in spite of how they feel. That's power. That's freedom. That's growth. There will be days when your emotions tell you to walk away, when they tell you you're not good enough, when they whisper lies in your ear about your worth, your ability, your future. That's when discipline becomes your weapon. You say, I hear you, but I don't believe you. I feel you, but I won't follow you. Discipline is saying yes when emotions want you to say no. It's getting out of bed when your feelings say sleep. It's doing the work when your emotions say take a break. It's showing up again and again because your mind has been trained to lead, not follow. In the end, that people who create results, the ones who build businesses, change their lives, transform their bodies, achieve their goals, are not those who wait to feel good every day. They are those who use discipline to manage emotion, not let emotion dictate direction. They still feel fear, but they move anyway. They still feel doubt, but they act anyway. They still feel pain, but they persist anyway. Because discipline isn't about ignoring emotions, it's about keeping emotions in their place. They can ride with you, but they don't get to steer. When you choose discipline, you take control. You decide how your day goes, how your work gets done, how your future unfolds. You don't hand over your destiny to emotions that change with the weather. You take full ownership of what needs to be done and you get it done. Not perfectly, not always with excitement, but with purpose, clarity, and strength. Discipline gives you the power to show up for your goals even when your emotions don't show up with you. It's the invisible force that separates talkers from doers, dreamers from achievers, and average from excellent. And the best part is, it's a choice you get to make every single day. Victory starts with mental toughness, not comfort. That's a truth most people don't want to hear, because comfort feels good. It's familiar, it's safe, and it gives you a false sense of security. But real growth, real strength, real progress, they never come from a place of ease. They come from pressure, from discipline, from being uncomfortable and choosing to endure anyway. Mental toughness isn't something you're born with. It's something you build through repetition, through difficulty, through choosing the hard path when the easy one is available. You have to understand that every time you choose comfort over challenge, you're weakening your mind. You're reinforcing the idea that emotions rule you, that difficulty is something to be avoided, that pressure is something to run from. But when you make the opposite choice, when you lean into the pressure, when you keep showing up even when it's hard, when you push through the frustration and the pain, you're building the kind of mind that can win. People think that winning in life is about talent or luck, but more often it's about resilience. It's about the ability to take hit after hit, loss after loss, and still keep your vision intact. That kind of strength doesn't come from staying comfortable. It comes from doing the hard things on purpose. Waking up early when you'd rather sleep in. Practicing your craft when no one's watching. Staying focused when distractions are everywhere. Choosing discipline when your emotions are begging for relief. Mental toughness grows when you challenge yourself, not when you protect yourself. When you push through one more rep at the gym, one more hour of studying, one more painful conversation, you're proving to yourself that your mind is in charge, not your feelings. The problem is that most people expect life to be fair or easy. They expect the world to hand them something for simply wanting it. But the world doesn't work like that. The world responds to those who demand more of themselves than anyone else could ever demand. And that level of demand requires a mindset that can handle pressure, that can take stress without breaking, that can face adversity and still make clear, focused decisions. You don't get that by chasing comfort. You get that by choosing to struggle on purpose, by choosing to suffer now so you can succeed later. That's what mental toughness is. It's not about ignoring pain. It's about enduring it without allowing it to derail you. It's about learning how to think clearly when your emotions are loud, when your fear is present, when your energy is low. Every winner you admire, every athlete, every entrepreneur, every visionary, they all had moments when giving up would have been easier. They all had days where comfort was calling their name, where emotions told them it wasn't worth it, but they didn't listen. They trained themselves to lean into discomfort. They developed a mind that could take the storm and still move forward. That's not a gift. That's not luck. That's work. That's discipline. That's a decision to make the mind stronger than the body, stronger than the emotions, stronger than the circumstances. So when you want to win, stop asking for easy. Start preparing for hard. Start choosing the things that scare you, the things that stretch you, the things that test you. Because every time you do, you grow. Every time you say no to comfort and yes to growth, your mind gets tougher. And a tough mind is a winning mind. It's the kind of mind that can hold steady in chaos, that can rise when everything is falling apart, that can focus when emotions are trying to take over. And in this life, that kind of mind always wins in the end. Every setback is a test of your emotional control. It's not just a delay, a disappointment, or a failure. It's an opportunity for you to show what you're really made of. Anybody can smile when things are going well. Anybody can speak confidently when the doors are opening and the path is clear. But when the door slams shut, when the plan falls apart, when everything feels like it's crumbling, that's when your emotional strength gets tested. That's the moment life looks you in the eye and asks, can you stay calm? Can you stay focused? Can you still move forward? Because setbacks aren't personal attacks. They're part of the process. And the people who win are the ones who learn how to manage what they feel instead of being controlled by it. When you face a setback, your emotions will flare up first. That's natural. You feel anger, fear, frustration, self-doubt, maybe even shame. Those feelings are valid, but they're not reliable. Emotions are loud in the moment, but they fade. If you let them guide your response, you'll often say or do things that make the situation worse. That's why emotional control is the most underrated skill when it comes to growth. It's the difference between reacting with panic and responding with purpose. A person with emotional control can experience a loss and still plan their next move. They can be hurt, but not paralyzed. They can feel like quitting, but still choose to stay in the game. Because control doesn't mean ignoring emotions. It means not letting emotions become the driver of your decision. The truth is, setbacks will never stop coming. That's part of life. You'll get rejected, misunderstood, overlooked, and underestimated. Projects will fail, people will leave, plans will collapse, and each time your emotional stability will be tested again. But the more you go through these moments and learn to regulate your reactions, the stronger your internal foundation becomes. You stop falling apart every time something doesn't go your way. You stop needing perfect conditions to stay consistent. And most importantly, you stop giving your emotions the power to cancel your vision. Sometimes a setback is life giving you a chance to upgrade your mindset. It's a challenge that says, let me see if you really want this. Let me see if you can stay committed when it's not easy. And if you pass that test, if you hold your ground emotionally, you build a version of yourself that can't be shaken by circumstances. That's the version of you that wins. Because that version doesn't fall into emotional traps like blame, excuses, or self-pity. That version takes ownership. That version pauses before reacting. That version speaks with intention, not impulse. Even the strongest people feel the weight of setbacks, but they've trained themselves not to be led by the weight. They give themselves space to process. Then they refocus on the mission. They don't let temporary emotions destroy permanent goals. And that level of control isn't just powerful, it's peaceful. It gives you clarity in chaos. It helps you maintain momentum while others are stuck in emotional drama. That's what separates the emotionally weak from the emotionally strong. One group waits to feel better before they move. The other moves forward until they feel better. In life, emotional control during setbacks is what creates transformation. If every time something goes wrong, you fall into panic or rage or despair, you'll keep restarting your progress. But if you stay grounded, if you slow down, breathe, and choose your response, you stay on the path. And staying on the path, especially through the hardest parts, is where the real winners are made. Because the people who finish the race aren't always the fastest or the most talented. And they're the ones who learn how to keep going while holding their emotions in check. They mastered themselves when everything else was falling apart. Success demands thinking, not reacting. That's a truth most people overlook, especially in a world that celebrates quick responses and emotional outbursts. We're living in a time where reacting fast has become the norm. Social media rewards it, conversations encourage it, and life pressures push it. But reacting is emotional. It's impulsive. It's driven by how you feel in the heat of the moment, not what you know deep down. When you react, you surrender your power. You let the situation control you instead of choosing how to control the situation. That's why real success, lasting, meaningful success can only happen when you learn to think clearly under pressure instead of allowing emotion to take the wheel. Reacting usually comes from a place of insecurity or fear. You feel attacked, so you strike back. You feel frustrated, so you quit. You feel disrespected, so you raise your voice. But in every one of those moments, your mind is not leading. You're simply being pulled by emotional waves. And every time you do that, you damage your own path. You may lose opportunities, hurt relationships, ruin your focus, or destroy your reputation, all because you reacted instead of thinking. Thinking takes maturity, it takes emotional discipline, it takes a second of silence when your emotions want to scream. It takes asking yourself, what outcome do I want from this, instead of how do I feel right now? Success is a long game and is built on strategy, not impulse. Strategic thinkers don't just look at what's in front of them. They look ahead. They calculate, they analyze. They pause before they speak, reflect before they act, and adjust before they judge. That's how they stay in control of outcomes. That's how they rise when others collapse. Because they've trained themselves to separate thought from emotion. They understand that feelings pass, but the decisions you make in those feelings can have permanent consequences. When you react, you build regret. When you think, you build results. There's a reason why the most successful leaders in any field, business, sports, education, relationships, are often calm under pressure. They've learned that every storm is temporary and every problem has a solution, but those solutions only come to the mind that's steady, not the mind that's panicking. They take the time to think. They don't rush to conclusions or let their pride or fear dictate what happens next. That's not weakness. That's strength. That's control. And control over your mind is one of the greatest weapons you can carry on your path to success. When you train yourself to think instead of react, you also gain clarity. You stop misreading people. You stop assuming the worst. You stop making decisions that feel good in the moment but cost you later. You see things more clearly because your thoughts aren't clouded by unchecked emotion. That kind of clarity makes you a better decision maker, a better communicator, a better problem solver. It allows you to respond to life in ways that are intentional, thoughtful, and productive instead of chaotic and destructive. Thinking over reacting also builds respect. People trust you more when they know you don't lose your cool over every challenge. They respect your ability to stay grounded. They're drawn to your consistency. And consistency is one of the foundations of success. Anyone can have a good day, But the one who shows up every day with a level head, with poise, with purpose, that's the one who lasts. That's the one who wins. Emotional intelligence and strategic thinking don't cancel out passion. They refine it. They give it direction. They give you energy and turn it into momentum instead of wasted motion. The world gives you plenty of reasons to react. Bad news, delays, disrespect, failures, chaos. It's all out there and it's not going away. But the difference between winners and everyone else is, and what happens to them, is how they choose to respond. It's the choice to pause when others rush, to breathe when others explode, to think when others react. That choice, repeated daily, creates a mindset that isn't shaken by emotion, but driven by purpose. Strong minds lead, weak emotions follow. That statement holds a power that can change the direction of your entire life if you live by. In every situation you face, there's a choice. You can let your emotions take charge, or you can let your mind lead. And the outcomes of those two paths are completely different. When emotions lead, people react impulsively. They speak without thinking, quit without planning, fight without purpose, and give up without reason. But when the mind leads, there's focus, there's discipline, there's direction. The emotions don't disappear, but they don't get to control the outcome. A strong mind is like a compass. No matter how heavy the storm gets, it keeps you moving toward your goal. Many people lose battles in life, not because they lack skill or talent, but because they let emotions override logic. They let anger turn into destruction. They let fear keep them paralyzed. They let sadness consume their energy. And because the mind wasn't in control, their emotions ran wild, and so did their actions. But emotional outbursts never produce consistent progress. They might bring momentary relief or expression, but they rarely take you closer to your goals. Weak emotions are like wild horses, untrained, uncontrolled, unpredictable. They will drag you in any direction unless your mind holds the reins. And the only way to hold the reins is to strengthen your mindset daily. Strong minds are not built overnight. They are developed through hard choices, through discipline, through adversity, and through countless moments of saying no to what you feel and yes to what you know. A strong mind doesn't just happen. It's forged like steel tested in fire. Every time you decide to stay calm when you want to lash out, every time you stay consistent when you want to quit, you are strengthening your mental leadership. And the stronger your mind becomes, the less power your emotions have to lead you astray. You begin to notice your emotional triggers without falling into them. You become the observer, not the victim of your own inner chaos. That's the beginning of true personal power. Think about the people who inspire you most, the ones who handle conflict with grace, who bounce back from setbacks, who keep going when others fall apart. They're not emotionless robots. They feel everything you feel. But their difference is this: their mind leads. Their mind sets the tone. Their mind decides how the body moves, how the mouth speaks, and how the heart reacts. And when you let your mind lead, your emotions eventually follow its example. They start to settle. They start to obey. They start to work with you, not against you, because emotions, when governed by a strong mind, can be a powerful fuel. Passion, love, determination, these are emotions too, but when they are guided by clarity and purpose, they become unstoppable. The danger lies in letting weak emotions take the lead. That's when decisions are made that break things instead of build them. That's when relationships are ruined, opportunities are missed, and time is wasted. Weak emotions are like fog on the road. If you don't have a strong mind to guide you, you'll lose your way. You'll turn back when you should move forward. You'll doubt yourself when you should believe. But when the mind is strong, it cuts through that fog. It sees beyond the feeling of the moment and makes choices based on truth, not temporary emotion. You don't need to silence your emotions to lead with your mind. You need to discipline them. You need to let them express without allowing them to direct. It's not about being cold or disconnected. It's about being in control. You are at your most powerful when your emotions are present, but your mind is in charge. When the heart feels, but the head decides. When a storm inside rages, but your direction remains clear. That's what true mental leadership looks like. It's calm under fire, focus under pressure, and steady in the face of chaos. If you master your mind, you master your world. Everything you experience, everything you feel, everything you interpret is filtered through your mind first. Your mind is the control center. It takes in information, processes emotion, creates perception, and then pushes you toward action. When your mind is untrained, weak, or clouded, your world reflects that. You see chaos even in peace. You feel pressure even when you're safe. You imagine problems where there are none, and you give power to things that don't deserve it. But when your mind is sharp, calm, and disciplined, your reality shifts. You take control of how you see things, how you react, how you move. You stop being a slave to circumstance and start becoming the creator of your outcomes. Mastering the mind doesn't mean ignoring the world. It means interpreting it with strength, not weakness. The way you think determines how you live.